Good evening and welcome to our first ever Coaches Call-In Show presented by Haynes Total Healthcare. My name is Christian Spradlin. Alongside with me this season is Jeran Cox and Matt Hoops. Our goal is to add a wrinkle to our array of coverage options, giving our student athletes the coverage they deserve. Every Friday night we will be live receiving coaches' calls, getting their thoughts on the night's outcome, and going over that week's results. This season is already underway, so as we begin this season, what do we have to look forward to this year? I'll go to you first, Jeran.
I think when you look at SVC girls basketball, you got to look at Unioto first. They got Miley Smith coming back, Maya Hamilton coming back from a knee injury, still healing up, getting better every day and every game. Maggie Holbert's coming back. They got a couple really nice freshmen. Kiera Beard had a big night the other night against Cincinnati Purcell Marion. But you got to start with Unioto. You know they Purcell Marion, 12th ranked team in the country. Unioto's only down 6 at halftime. Now, it ended up worse than that, but I think it shows they have some potential there. Big adjustment going from junior high to high school for a few of those girls. But, you start going down the list of other SVC girls teams. Adina's off to a really good start, 2-1. Got their first league win the other day against Westfall. Piketon, they're pretty decent. Matt, you got anything else girls basketball wise?
No, I think you said it. When you talk about girls basketball in the SVC, right now it's been Unioto, and it's been that way for a little while. And you talked about that core of girls coming back, and anytime your guard play is as solid as theirs is, I think that's going to be really tough to beat.
Yeah, I think we might talk to Coach Miller a little bit later. But it'd be interesting. They did lose a lot of key pieces. Alexis Book, Amelia Uhrig, Amaris Betts. Three girls been there for a while. So they got some big shoes to fill. But for sure, I think that's probably the cream of the crop in the SVC. And then you flip over to the boys' side. And again, I think in the SVC, I think you got to start with Unioto. Blake Fitch, Blake Hoops coming back, KB Perkins, just their depth of athletes. Caden Cutright, some other kids. And then Zane Trace, Landon Jarrell, he's injured. He's out right now. They had a big win the other night, big second half against Circleville. And, Piketon's always good. Coach Kyle Miller, he does a really good job with those kids down there. So, you probably give some more insight on the SVC
Yeah,
boys.
again, SVC boys basketball is always competitive, 1 through 8. You got to be ready to play every single night. I always used to tell our guys the difference between the first place team and the 8th place team. If you don't play to your standard, that goes away really quickly. So, got to bring it every night in the league, especially when you go on the road.
Yeah, well, Unioto did open up tonight, and this is the first time in many, many years, Coach, you haven't been on the sideline for the boys' basketball. How was it sitting in the stands?
It was difficult. It was difficult. I mean, I enjoyed it. I was able to just sit back and kind of watch Blake play, which was really nice. And I know that those guys, Coach Combs and Coach Easterday and Coach Fitch and those guys they have it under control, which made the transition for me easier. But I'm not going to lie, it was hard to not coach from the stands.
Yeah, I'm sure it was difficult. So,
Hey guys, now we have John Bonifield on the phone. He's the coach from Waverly Lady Tigers.
Hey, Coach,
hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, Coach?
Oh, yeah, I can't complain.
Yeah,
Watching a little football.
there you go. We got a big game tomorrow, don't we?
Oh yeah, sure do.
So let's talk about the Waverly Lady Tigers here tonight for a little bit. Off to a 1-1 start this season. Had a tough first game against Vinton County, falling 71-67. Bounce back and knock off Jackson 45-30. Tell us a little bit about your team this year, Coach.
Okay, well, we got three returning starters, led by our senior guard, Karis Reisner. And then our 2 other starters are 2 juniors, Sadie Royster and Paige O'Brien. So we're relying on them early on here in the season while our other girls kind of get more experience at playing at the varsity level. And we have a tough opening schedule. I think our first 5 are away before we get our first home game. But that's just life of high school basketball. So we're excited to get it started. And we'd like to start out 2-0. But, hey, when you open up on the road, 2 straight games and we 1-1, we'll take it, and we'll continue to practice and get better and get ready for Monday night's game at Zane Trace.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be tough starting off first 5 games on the road. But probably sets up your schedule pretty nice as you're coming down the stretch there, mid-February.
Yeah, well, we got a lot on the road this year. We had a lot at home last year. I think we had 12 home games last year, and this year we got only 8. So we had a couple, changes in our schedule. Added a few teams. Unfortunately, those end up being road games, but it is what it is, and you play wherever you have to play. So, but it'll help us. We think at the end of the year we'll be prepared, especially come tournament time.
And tell us a little bit about your style this year, up and down the court, pressing, half-court team. What are we going to see from the Lady Tigers?
You're going to see up and down the floor. We're not big. We view that we're athletic, so we're going to use it and make it a full court game. Get up and press, various presses in zone, man to man. Offense, try to get the first good look we get and go from there. But basically, try to create chaos on the defense and force turnovers to get some looks in transition. And we've been able to do that thus far through the first 2 games. Learned a lot in the first game with Vinton County. Got down 26-12 at the end of the first quarter. Ended up having a chance to get it within a 1-possession game late in the ball game, and unfortunately, we're able. It came out in the losing end by 4, but we like to create our turnovers. Create even more turnovers the second game at Jackson. Just struggled to put the ball in the basket against Jackson, but still happy with scoring 45 points.
Coach, did you say you only gave up 30 points that second game?
The second game we gave up 30 points. It was 45-30 against Jackson.
So you gave up 26 in the first quarter that first game, and then you only give up
that was
30 for the game. So right. So
well, no, the Vinton County game we gave up 61 points.
Yeah, but didn't you say you gave up 26 in the first quarter? Is what I'm saying
correct.
And then you come back the next night and only give up 30 to Jackson. Was that something you guys kind of sat down in those couple of days of practice and you wanted to really focus on your defensive end and maybe turn your offense off of your defense, or that just the way it went?
No. That's exactly. We've been really focusing on our defense the whole time. We just know that sitting down and having to play a half-court game is probably not going to benefit us too much. Again, our tallest girl's 5'9". We think we play longer than that with our athletic girls, but we just know if you get us in a half-court and get a decent size and post players, we're probably going to be in trouble. So we want to definitely make it 94 feet. And but we've been working on our different presses and really used more of a zone press against Jackson, flipped back and forth between zone and man-to-man Vinton County. But we had to clean some things up. Mainly was in when you're putting a lot of pressure up front in a full court zone or man-to-man, we got beat over the top a few times, and so we had to clean some things up, like understanding when the ball goes over your head. You got to sprint to get back on defense. It's not the time to take it easy. And Vinton County really hit a lot of threes, hit 9 threes against us. A lot of those were in transition. I think they had 8 in the first half, so shot the ball really well against us.
Yeah, I got a chance to watch that Vinton County team a couple weeks ago, and they're a scrappy little bunch. They got a couple quick guards. They're pretty young. They got some really good shooters, and I know they have an injury right now, 2 girls out, but they are a scrappy little team, and I saw that, and that's a pretty high scoring game for varsity girls basketball. And I just seeing that score, I was like, man, the Waverly Tigers, they must be pretty decent this year. So, what do you have on your schedule coming up this week, Coach?
This week we've only got 1 game this week, again at Zane Trace, and then the following week we play 3 games at McLean, at Northwest, and then home a Saturday affair on the 14th with Fairfield Union. So we played them the last few years, met them in a tournament. So we definitely we like playing we used to be the D2 schools, now I guess D4 schools. So that's a new change for us coaches, trying to remember who's in what division. But we play a lot of the FAC schools, and we like our schedule. I think it prepares us for the postseason.
Yeah, obviously there was some realignment division-wise in basketball this year. Are most of the schools down there in the SOC, are they D4 like you guys? I know, Waverly's one of the bigger schools down there.
Most of them are D5. So that's a tough division, but Minford, Wheelersburg West, the D5. Southwestern, I think, division lower than that. But most of them are in Valley, I think, about the same as Webster. So, but most of them be D5.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us tonight, and wish you guys the best of luck here this coming week.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for you guys for all you do for the area.
No problem, Coach.
Okay. See you guys.
See you.
5 games away
That's
to start the season. That's no way.
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
having a
who's the
meeting.
AD
I'm gonna have a
over there?
meeting with the AD.
I mean, the
that's
one
tough.
thing is,
I mean,
yeah, it's they're going to be battle tested for sure. But I think that does set them up for some nice home games coming up.
I mean, you alluded to that, and I thought he was going to say that, but then he said they only had eight total, and so that's a tough. You like to get as many home games as you can get. At least try to keep it as close to 11-11 as possible. But that'd be difficult to only play 8 at home. Especially in that conference. I mean, some of the schools he named, those are really good schools, and that'd be tough.
Yeah, absolutely. While we got a second here, Coach, we got football final tonight, Division 5. It's hard to believe high school football is still going on. Ironton Fighting Tigers 63-21 win tonight over West Liberty Salem. They're going to be going to the state championship game next week. I think it was 56-7 at halftime, and the JV was able to get in. That's amazing.
That's impressive when you can put your JV team in the state Final Four. You're doing something right.
Absolutely. So.
All right, guys, we got Tyler Cassidy, coach of the Zane Trace Pioneers, on the coach's call-in line.
Hey, Coach, you out there?
How's it going? Yeah, I'm here.
I saw you tonight getting a little scouting in over there at Miami Trace, Miami Trace Unioto game. Your season's off to a good start with a 1-0, and kind of tell us a little bit about your team this year.
Yeah, we fought hard in the second half. I like our team a lot. I think that since I've gotten the job at Zane Trace, there's just been a lot of support from me and coming in and getting guys on my staff that we're all on the same page, and I feel like the kids are really buying into what we're trying to get them to do, playing really hard, and we just have a really good group that I feel is connected and easy to coach. Kind of starting off with the senior group, Landon Jarrell, which he has a broken hand right now. We're hoping we can get him back as soon as we can. We're kind of looking at hopefully early January sometime. But Landon is an outstanding kid. I mean, he has become a little bit of like another assistant coach for us in a way. He was there scouting with us tonight with his dad, who's helping me. And just his character that he's shown and his leadership, all that stuff that doesn't go unnoticed as a coach, but I think sometimes can go unnoticed as a fan, is the impact that Cohen is another one. He broke his foot there in the playoff game, but I think he was in the hospital until 2:00 in the morning. And then all of a sudden our first practice was that Saturday. Not only did a lot of the football kids come in, they didn't practice, but they were just there to watch. But Cohen showed up after having a broken foot and being in the hospital till 2:00 in the morning and not even being able to, maybe come back this year. That just shows his character. And those two have been at practice every day and as senior leaders. And then you go to Ezra Rippeth, who has really worked hard, stepped up in a leadership role, trying to kind of replace some of that vocal leadership when we are on the floor with LJ being out. And he's played a great floor game the other night, had 10 points. Halftime we're struggling offensively. But I felt like Ezra came out, I challenged him. I said, somebody's going to have to, knock down some shots. We need to string together a few possessions where we can make a run and get this thing tied again. And then go on from there. And he came out, and I think he had back-to-back possessions where he scored a layup, and then he hit a big three in front of our bench, and then Gunner hit him on that backdoor cut for us to finally take the lead. So he showed a lot of senior leadership in that moment, and I've been really pleased with his effort and toughness. And Landon Robinson, we kind of experimented a little bit in our scrimmages of where he's going to play and how we're going to use him, but Landon ended up becoming our point guard with LJ out, which was a little bit of a transition time because, you know, LJ was our point guard throughout the summer, and we didn't think he would be out as long as what it seems like he's going to be out. But Landon ran the point as a sophomore, and he's transitioned into the point really well for us. He had 6 assists the other night, had 10 points, and defensively, you know, we really challenged him to probably guard Circleville's best player. He did really well and had 5 steals, and I've just been very, very pleased with our senior group. I just feel like they're a really high character group of kids and has made the transition with me very easy so far.
One thing with that group, Coach, and I know you know this, they're used to winning, and they've won at every level all the way down to when they were in youth league. So those guys are their roles may change, but I can assure you this: their goal is still the same, and it's to find a way to win. And I think you'll see that out of them for the majority of the season.
Oh, absolutely. I think the success that they have. Going to a few baseball games last year after I got hired, the success that they had during baseball season, the success that they have during football in the previous years that they've played basketball. It seems like it's that way with a lot of our sports at Zane Trace, and they just have a winner's mentality. And again, going back to Wednesday night, even though we're kind of struggling a little bit offensively in the first half, you really saw our kids be composed, and we didn't panic. We didn't have quick possessions in the second half. We kind of picked our spots, and I was just very pleased with their composure and their poise and how they responded.
Hey, Coach, it's Jeran. Let's go back to that second half game against Circleville the other night. A little bit of a rough first half, but you guys just basically dominated that whole second half. What was it more than just making a couple shots and settling down on offense, or different strategy? Just talk to us a little bit about what the difference was in that second half.
Well, I think in the first half, we saw that we were getting looks, and I think it was just we're trying to figure out our role a little bit offensively. We still struggled with that in our foundation game against Washington Courthouse. We held them in the 30s, and then we scored 29 points, and it was more of the same in the first half, trying to figure out, okay, like who are we looking for offensively, who's going to step up and be kind of like those two primary offensive weapons, and then other people kind of feed off of whatnot. And I think we just decided we're just going to do it as a group, and that's the way it's going to have to be this year. I mean, we had 4 guys end up in double figures with Gunner and Ezra and Grady and Landon. And I think a big, and from being a coach, like you look at how many shot attempts you've had, and we had 7 more shots than Circleville in the first half. So that made me feel good about our game plan, where we were and how we were playing as a team. Typically the team who gets more shots is going to be pretty successful. So we ended up with 14 more shots than they did for the game. And I think that's attributed to our defense, and that kind of started our offense a little bit, I think, in the second half, getting out in the passing lanes and creating some transition opportunities for us.
Yeah, and you kind of already touched on it without having LJ out there. And I know it's difficult. Anytime you lose your guy, it's a hard thing. But I think one thing you'll see, Coach, and when you get him back, is all of these valuable experiences the rest of these guys are having with the ball in their hands in critical moments. It's only going to make your team stronger when you do get LJ back. And I think you guys are off to a great start, but I think you're going to be really, really dangerous after the holidays when you are able to get LJ back in the mix.
Oh, absolutely. I think, if you just look at our first game there, when we finally stretched our lead a little bit, you had the ball in other players' hands that maybe if LJ's on the floor, Grady Stewart had the ball up top. It wasn't just his 16 points, but his ball skill and being in those pressure situations, being trapped, having to make a tough pass, and, other players having that kind of pressure on them. Like you said, hopefully when LJ gets back, he's just able to step right into the mix and gives us another weapon. I mean, I know last year him averaging about 16 points and 4 assists. If we can add that into the roles that we're going to see ourselves fitting in on the team, I think we can hopefully just be that much better and help us, in the tournament. Once it gets tournament time, hopefully we're playing our best basketball.
Yeah, I think the one thing I really liked that you said earlier, Coach, was you had 4 guys getting double digits. You got good balance. You got Landon Robinson, Rippeth. The list goes on. You have 4 guys. The thing with those guys are they've played varsity in the past, right? So they've played with the Xander Reams. They played with the Nayland Robinsons. They played varsity when those guys were playing. They didn't have to be the guy, the man.
Yeah.
Now, instead of one person taking it on, I think I talked to Coach Hoops about this last year with their injury with Showblock. If you all just pitch in a little bit, and everybody takes on just a little bit more, that's a lot better than just throwing it all on one shoulder. And I think you got that luxury with your depth this year.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, we're starting to figure it out. We still have moved pieces around, and just going into last weekend, 2 or 3 days after that foundation game, people moved in the different spots. We decided to put Landon as our starting point guard. And, the more practice time we have, and the more we get our continuity offensively it's one thing to know the offense, and then it's another thing to really know the offense. And I think that kind of showed in our zone offense in the first half. It was like, well, we were running it, but it's when you catch it in the areas that you need to have it, what to do now, your reaction time, what you're looking for. And just, the more that we adjust to LJ's injury from where we were in the summer to now, I think as the season goes on, you'll see our offensive production improve.
And you just mentioned here as the season goes on, what comes up for Zane Trace this week?
So this week we have Westfall on Tuesday, and then we travel to Westfall, and then Friday we have Piketon at home, and then we go down to Waverly on Saturday.
Let me ask you your opinion here, Coach. You like playing at Westfall or not? I hear people either love it or they hate it. I personally, playing, I loved it. That was my career high, 34 points. But
Nice rims.
I hear a lot of people say
I was
they
gonna
hate
say,
it.
I think they have soft rims there for sure. I remember even back, 20 years ago when I played. Not that I scored that many points, but I do remember them being soft rims. But coaching there, I think it's a great atmosphere. I think the fans are right there on you in the dome. And I really like, when they remodeled it a few years ago, did a few things. I just think it's a really cool place to play. I think it's going to be a wonderful atmosphere. I think Westfall has a really good team. We understand who we need to be and what we need to be about. And if we don't come in ready to play hard, I mean, I don't think it is going to go well for us. So we respect Westfall and how good their guard play is. And, right now they're running that ball screen continuity, and they've got some really good guards, and Craig and Rigsby and Joe Ray. And we're going to have to figure out how we can keep them out of the paint, but also be able to recover and guard the 3, because they're really good at what they do.
Yep, no doubt about it. So you got anything else, Coach?
Thanks for calling in, Coach, and best of luck next week with 3 games in 1 week.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Them 34 points, Hoops, that was on 11 shots.
That's efficient. I'm just trying to think.
I shot a lot more than 11.
Well, you could have told me any number you wanted, and I'd have believed you. I can also tell you this: the 2 years I coached at Westfall, I think maybe we tightened the rims because we didn't score enough. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I don't know. So I hear some people say they hate playing there. The echoes, that never bothered me.
Well, I don't think that it echoes anymore in terms of because of the remodel. I can tell you this: the 2 years I coached there, when no one's there and you're trying to practice,
It's bad.
there's one spot you can coach from. It was over there by the water fountains. That was the only spot you could talk where it wouldn't echo. And there's a lot of nights I drove back to Chillicothe with a massive headache because trying to coach in that place, it just echoed the whole time. It was difficult. But one of the more difficult places to play, home court advantage for sure. They got their band right on top of you. It's a tough place to get a win in.
Yeah, they do. And then they got you mentioned Joe Ray's name. He's a really nice point guard. He's back for him. A couple other players, and then their head coach, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he was a head coach in college, and he does a really good job.
Kyle Joseph.
Yes, Kyle Joseph.
Kyle
yep.
was one of the guys that
More-
played for me when I played or when I coached up there in 05, 06, when,
All right.
that little run. So.
Cool. So,
All right, guys. Now we have Doug
Hello?
Hice, coach of the Southeastern Lady Panthers, on the coach's call-in line.
How you doing, guys?
good. How you doing, Doug?
Hey, Coach.
Good.
Good.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well.
He-
Outstanding.
He's struggling over here, Doug.
Yeah, I'm carrying this thing, Doug. Don't let him lie to you.
Well, I understand.
Oh shoot! So, Doug, tell us a little bit about your Lady Panthers this year. I know you're off to a 1-2 start. Had a couple of tough games. Logan Elm, tough one the other night at Piketon. Got to watch you guys scrimmage there a week or two ago, but you still got some really nice pieces, right? So, just talk to us a little bit about what you have this year.
We lost our 2 starting guards from last year, and it's been an adjustment period, trying to get that fixed or shored up or however you want to say it. But they're getting better. We just ain't had enough time. So, we're dealing with that. My 2 big post players are playing extremely well. And then we got a couple of sophomores come in and play for us. And then I got a bunch of freshmen. So, we're fairly young, have 0 seniors, and at times it shows.
You mentioned your freshman coach. Are those guards, post players, wings? Are those girls that you're counting on to contribute right away? You bringing them off the bench? How are you using them?
Well, they're coming off the bench right now. We talked a little bit today about, get ready, because we're struggling a little bit.
Right.
So, step up and be a player. But, my 2 post players are juniors. My 2 starting guards right now are juniors. Then I got sophomore starts and a sophomore, and another junior comes in as our main 2 subs.
Yep. So you got, I think Gracie Brown. She's
Mhm.
back for you, and you talk about maybe you're struggling a little bit this year. It's probably a pretty big adjustment. Last year she was
Yes.
probably number 3, maybe number 4 on the scouting report, and all of a sudden, she's right there at the top. Just talk about the things that she's having to deal with, just moving to the top of the other team's scouting report. She's seeing maybe double teams more, or just the ball in her
Well,
hand more. Or, obviously there's
the
more
big-
responsibility.
The biggest thing right now, we're running to point.
Mm-hmm.
So she's got the ball 90% of the time. Like you said, last year, she got to run down there, get her feet set. We would kick the ball to the backside, and she just shot the basketball. Pretty easy. But now she's 90% handling the ball. Everything's real fast right now for her, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
one
I
of the
think
things
when
I was
she
going to.
slows. I think when she slows down, we're going to be fine.
That's what I was going to mention, Coach. I think the more you guys play and the more the ball's in her hands, not only will she slow down, but the game will slow down for her.
Yes,
And,
yes. I think that's the problem right now. I think everything just seems real fast
Yep.
because we're still getting her plenty of shots, but it just seems like she's always rushed.
And
So
probably
I think
different areas that she's used to shooting the ball from. If you
Yes,
got it in your hand,
right,
you're on the top of the key, and you're having to create and get downhill in the paint, and people are helping, and people are already keying on her anyway. So it's a difficult thing, but I think the more games you play and the more experience she gets, it'll slow down, and she'll just be fine, and so will you guys.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned the low down game, we had 28 turnovers. It was 12 of 28 for the foul line, and got beat 9. We're doing a lot of really, really good stuff, but with the turnovers and the missed foul shots, it's really, really just shooting ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, what do you do in practice, to try to help alleviate, the turnovers? I mean, we were talking, I think last week, I can't remember which coach we were talking to. There's different types of turnovers, right? Like you got your
Yeah,
travels, you're throwing it out of bounds. Those don't necessarily hurt you. Yeah, they're not great, but you're not, a live ball turnover giving teams a layup. So, what are some of the things that you're
right.
doing in practice to help,
Well, like
offset those?
I mentioned some of our freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
This has probably been our first year in a long time where our practices are pretty competitive
Mm-hmm.
because I got some real good freshmen, and so we just go against each other. Try to work hard against each other, and try to make it as live as we can, so they get more experience. And it's common. The bad thing was, you start two new guards, and tomorrow will be our fourth game in 8 days.
Who do you guys have tomorrow, Coach?
We got Paint Valley at home, so there's not a lot of time in between there to work on things we need to work on
Yeah, well, I think the one
yet.
yet.
Most powerful word in the English language yet.
Ain't no doubt.
Yeah, and I think the one thing, if you're practicing together or like your JV and stuff, you said you got good competition. I know just from refereeing your JV scrimmage, you do have a really talented JV team, and it's one of those things where,
Yes.
early on it probably benefits maybe those younger kids more. But as
Yes.
those kids improve, it's going to make your upperclassmen. They're going to have to work harder, and they're going to have to learn the tricks of the trade, so to speak, just to kind of get themselves away going through practice and stuff.
Yeah, it's been beneficial to both groups right now. So we're happy with that, but we're just not happy where we're at yet. But I really do believe we're going to get there. It just win. And like you said, we started out with a low down team.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got to turn around and go to Piketon, and
Mm-hmm.
they press us for 4 straight quarters. And they've got a talented team. Them, Unioto is going to be one for sure. But then you take like Huntington, Piketon, and Adena, and to me, any one of them teams could be second in our league.
Well,
So
well, stick with it, Coach. You're doing the right thing. I know you guys are, and good luck tomorrow against Paint Valley. And thanks for calling in.
all right, guys, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. No, I got to watch some of his scrimmage here. I guess it's probably been a few weeks ago now, and they scrimmaged a really good Amanda Clear Creek team, and they hung right with them. But you could see it's almost like they need to have that light bulb moment for their guards, right? I can't really define what it is, but it clicks on, and the game just needs to slow down a little bit for
Well,
the guards.
just looking at their scores, he talked about all the turnovers against Logan Elm, and you lose by 9. I think they lost by 12 at Piketon, so it's not like they're getting blown out of the gym.
Right.
They're right there, and a couple possessions here won't go their way. The way they play the end of those games are different. So they continue to improve, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, and the thing with Piketon, while you were over at Miami Trace tonight, I was watching the Unioto girls play Piketon, and I think Piketon was leading Unioto for most of the first quarter. I think the first quarter score was like 15-11, so it's not like Piketon's not a good team.
Right.
They got some
Right.
they got some nice
I
players.
mean,
down
I
there
think
too.
they ended up scoring 50.
Yes,
right?
they did.
So,
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
that's sometimes that's hard to do against Unioto that kind of shrink that floor on you and speed you up and make it difficult for you. So Piketon's going to be solid as well.
Yep. There's no doubt about it. So, well, got a big football game tomorrow. I guess when people are watching this, it's going to be this afternoon. But
Right.
any early predictions here, Mr. Hoops?
I think that if Ohio State can't get it done this year, then I don't know when they're going to be able to. I was at the game last Saturday against Indiana, right there. Just the amount of talent that those guys have, it's almost, it doesn't seem fair. When you see the way that they played the game, and the thing that I noticed too was the shoe was as loud as I've heard it in a long time, and that was against Indiana. So I really believe that if the energy is where it's supposed to be tomorrow, and I think it will be, it's probably already there right now. But I think good things are going to happen for Ohio State. But it's a rivalry game. My whole life growing up, Ohio State probably had the better team most of the time in the '90s and didn't win that game. But I think tomorrow they'll be okay.
I'm gonna ask you a question here. Who is Ryan Day more like, John Cooper or Jim Tressel?
I think it's too early to tell in terms of that. Those guys were both there for 10+ years. I think when it's all said and done, he'll be more like Jim Tressel.
Okay, I got you. No, I think the one thing about Ohio State, just looking at tomorrow's game, it seems the last couple weeks, their defense has been real vanilla that first drive, right? Just kind of playing, just feeling them out. And they may give up a score early, but I just feel like that once they get that first stop on defense and they kind of get them figured out, things are going to start clicking. They're going to start rolling.
That's exactly. Newton and I went to the game last week, and he was like, "Man, that was easy." And I said, "Listen, they're going to figure it out after this." And that first drive, Indiana did what they needed to do, but I felt like for the rest of the game, Ohio State did exactly whatever they wanted to do defensively, and they figured it out.
Yep, no doubt about it.
All right, guys, now we have Kevin Pickerill, coach of the Eastern Brown Lady Warriors, on the coach's call-in line.
Hey, Coach, out there?
Yes, I am.
Good. Thanks for calling in tonight and talking to us. Eastern Brown, obviously, they've got a rich tradition, a lot of history in girls basketball, and looks like you're part of that now, being the head coach over there. And you guys are off to a good start, 2-1 this year. Talk to us a little bit about your team.
We've got a mix of kids. We're got some young youth that go along with 3 seniors that's played a lot of varsity basketball. We, like you said, we've got off to a fast start, 2-1. Come up a little bit short on Wednesday night up at Miami Trace, but the kids played well after battling the night before in a barn burner at Georgetown where we won on a last-second shot. So, playing 7 varsity kids, only have 7 dressed on the varsity, and playing 7 kids playing back-to-back is not easy for anybody, even when you got a full team. But numbers are down, but we're not using that as excuse and just keep battling and go see where it takes us.
Coach, you mentioned playing back-to-back nights. That's always difficult, especially when you got to go on the road for the second one, and coming off an emotional win the night before. Kind of talk a little bit about how you try to get, that's not a lot of turnaround time, but how do you try to get them focused on that next game after such a big win the night before?
That's not easy. I know. The big thing is let them enjoy that moment, I think, at that time, but to try to get them back in the next day for some type of walkthrough, a film session or something at some point. Now, fortunately they didn't have class the next day, so we was able to get in early and do kind of a shoot around walkthrough to get ready for Trace. But if you got class and you just sometimes you got to prepare double, a couple days ahead of time, which is not easy because you get, high school kids, it's not their job, so to speak. So, I mean, us coaches might be thinking we can do that and should be easy, but it's not that easy really. So we're fortunate enough to have that time where we could get in and go through them the next day. So we made the best of it. I like to came out on the other end of it, but it's definitely not easy.
Yeah, and then your game at Miami Trace, you fall 38-35. The one possession, game-winning shot the night before. Well, is that did you guys have a chance there at the end to tie it up, or just make a last-second shot maybe to get it to one possession? How'd that game finish up?
At Trace, you're talking about?
Yeah, Miami Trace.
Yeah. With 13 seconds to go, we had the ball at the half line, or just on the other side of the half line, up 1 with the ball. We get the ball inbounds. We get it to the girl we want to get to shoot the free throws. And she took off dribbling, and there was a girl behind her, and they back tapped it, and it happened to go to the girl right in front of the girl that was guarding my kid, and she just got it and threw it ahead for a layup. And they went up one. I called a timeout, but there was 3 seconds left. And unfortunately, we throw it away on the inbounds pass, and they score another layup. So they ended up beating us 3. So, to be up one with 13 seconds to go, it was you want to think maybe you got it in the bag, but give credit to Trace. Them kids, they kept playing. They played kind of like we did the night before, played clear to the last buzzer. So
Yeah, I think maybe the one thing you can take from that is maybe that's a good learning experience for your point guard. You get in front of somebody, just knowing who's behind you or if somebody's behind you. Sometimes just being a former point guard, you kind of feel those things, and maybe it's something that they can learn from.
absolutely, and we can learn a lot. Actually, that night and the night before, in the last 10 seconds of both them games, we can learn so much. We get practice early in the morning, and that's one of the things we're going to do. We're going to watch a few clips off each game, and that's just teaching moments, whether it's good, bad, whatever, things you got to learn. But yeah, definitely as a point guard, you got to have a feel for where people are. And I hate it because it was a senior, and she felt devastated at that point. So it's a life lesson, honestly. So.
Coach, there's so many things that get in, especially early in the season. Just as you're trying to find yourself as a team and trying to find your identity. And I know you have time in the summer and things like that, but there's, it just, I can remember the month of November just feels like it's so rushed to get everything in. Do you guys, are you at the point in your season now where, or maybe you do all the time, but just take time for special situations, take maybe 5 minutes out of every practice and just work on situations, up 4 with 2 minutes to go and things like that?
That's something we ain't got to yet, really, and it's something we need to be getting into. It's with 3 games in the first 5 days or 6 days of the season. It's something you probably I probably should have already addressed, but no, it's something you need to. It's something. I always say that there's certain sets you want to go over just for that moment, that maybe you can get the ball in bounds and go 7 seconds or whatever, 6 seconds. But I love doing them scenarios, getting the clock out and going through them in the last minute, last 30 seconds, whatever it may be. But you're exactly right that in first 3 or 4 weeks of practices before games start, you just feel like you can't get enough in, and you want to go as long as you can. You don't want to burn the kids out at the same time. So
It's a fine
it's
line
kind
for
of
sure.
tough. Especially this day. I mean, where the kids are, it seems like any little thing they're trying to figure out why they don't have to play or don't want to play. So
You're right.
it's definitely a fine line.
Coach, I got 2 questions here for you. You kind of mentioned this earlier. You're dressing 7 kids on varsity. How hard is it to practice those situations with 7 kids? And do you do anything, like, do you play like a lot of zone or anything just to prevent foul trouble? I know that's 2 different questions. Just take a minute, maybe try to answer both if you can.
Well, the first question is I got 7 varsity kids, 7 JV kids, so we practice together.
Okay.
And I'm fortunate enough to have 3 assistants that have played in the last 5 years, so they dress out some and help us too. So that depend on how where I want to get. If I want to be a little bit more advanced, I try to get my coaches to dress out, and we get them involved, and they know a lot what we're doing still, and pretty active and fresh. So still pretty athletic. So that helps a lot, having a young staff. And then I guess the other question, what was the other question again?
Just only dressing 7 girls, you guys play a lot of zone, what do you do to maybe like conserve some energy, stay out of foul trouble?
That's a great question. No, I don't play a whole lot of zone. I should play more zone to try to avoid some of that or keep things fresh. I'm more of a up tempo, man-to-man, full court, 2-2-1 type zone press, but we have backed off on some of that stuff where we're just doing a lot more half court stuff as far as man defense, but maybe walk it up instead of pushing when you aren't got the numbers or stuff like that. But you foul trouble, it's I used to be a man. If you get 2 fouls in the first half, you aren't playing anymore. So I've had to go away from that rule pretty quick. So
The players like that.
yeah, you're right.
Coach, it always seems to me, just from my coaching days, that a lot of the teams down there in the Southern Hills Athletic Conference, they like to run that 2-2-1 press. Just talk to us a little bit about that. Like, do you got to have the right personnel to do that, or what's kind of the general thinking about that press?
I think the big thing is knowing where you want to get traps. If you want to trap everywhere, if you want to just trap as they cross the half line. I mean, we're a little slower in personnel at times. Sometimes we just want to trap the initial trap as they cross and try to avoid the reversal, try to deny the reversal and keep the ball out of the middle. Then once it gets thrown on up, we'll fall back to a man or a zone, either one. You can fall back to both. I mean, there's a lot of different options you can do out of it. I know we try to keep it to one side or the other, try to get it out of maybe the strength of the point guard's hand and push it to the opposite side of his strength or her strength. And I'll tell you another thing we like about 2-2-1, or I've always liked about it. A lot of times you'll get quick shots out of it, and it's not shots they necessarily want to take. It's a corner three, it's a 15-foot jumper, it's a reversal and a skip. And not that they're bad shots because they're open, but maybe it's not the kid you want shooting that early in the offense or as soon as they touch it. So I don't know. If you can rebound with it, that's a big thing. I mean, when you're small, we're small, so we got to pick our poison at times, so to speak.
That's good stuff.
Yep. I mean, I don't know how many. It's like a broken record when I was in practice. Bad shots is the same as a turnover. I agree with you, Coach.
Yeah.
Or quick shots.
That's quick shots.
Yep.
I mean, like I
That's a
said, a
turnover.
lot of times they're throwing that ball up to their 4 or 5 on that corner of that wing, and they say, "Hey, I'm open, but I'm 17 feet from the basket. I want you shooting that thing because I like our chances." But it's a gamble. Teams have figured that out too, where they put a shooting guard back there and they can score against the back end of it too. So, you're not going to surprise anybody. The coaches are so well advanced anymore, and the tapes get out quick. So it's
Yeah.
it's good stuff, really.
Yeah. All right, Coach. Well, we appreciate you calling in tonight and talking to us, and give a little insight here about the 2-2-1 press. And I think I learned a few things here. I never coached. I always played against it seemed like, but that was really good stuff. So wish you guys the best of luck this week, and we'll look forward to hearing back from you.
Hey, guys, I appreciate it much. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. What are you talking about zone for? Like, as a player,
I love
there was
playing against zone.
Playing against it, you liked it, but you never played 1 second of it as a player. I know that. Coach Kello, that ain't even in the vocabulary out there.
That is true. That's a 4-letter word.
It actually is.
But a good man is like his own defense, right? You got your midline,
right.
You got your help side, and all that good stuff. And so it's I kind of carried that same philosophy with me for a while when I was at Adena Girls, but at some point I feel like you've got to give in a little bit, right?
I think you have to. Yeah. I can just say preparing against those type of teams where you know that you're never going to have to prepare for it, it makes it a little bit easier. Now, with that being said, the other team that's refuses to play zone, it's probably because they're pretty good at playing man. So.
I'm gonna give some really insightful information here. This is when I kind of transition to maybe playing some zone as a coach. I talked to Ed Fry. I don't know if you know who Ed Fry is. Used to be the coach at Meggs. I was talking to him about basketball one day, and he played all zone defense. I just asked him why. Why do you do this? He goes, all right, as a coach, how many offensive sets do you have against man-to-man? I was like, I don't know, 15, 20. And he said, okay, how many you got against a zone? I was like, ooh.
We got 2 or 3 zone offenses.
Yes. He said, there's less to prepare for.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I said, you know what? That is a very good point.
It is.
It's a very good point. So.
All right, guys. Now we have Jeff Miller, coach of the Unioto Lady Shermans, on the coach's call-in line.
Coach, can you
Hey
hear me?
guys, gotcha.
I think I might just step back and let you two
Listen,
talk here.
I mean, he and I talk every day, so this could get out of hand. All right, because
Yeah.
it's hard to tell where this conversation is going to go, especially with Miller. No, Coach, talk to us a little bit tonight. I didn't get the chance to see or see your score. I was at the boys' game, so I haven't heard anything about yours yet.
Uh, Final score was 78-50. We honestly kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start. I think at the end of one, it was like 15-10 or something like that, and we kind of picked up a little bit of pressure there in the second quarter and stretched the lead out. I thought Piketon played really hard. They played really aggressive, gave us some problems, and then, like I said, once we picked up a little bit of pressure, kind of enabled us to get some easier fast break layups and stretch the lead out.
Yeah, Coach, it's Jeran. I watched the game on YouTube, the most of it, and I agree with you. I felt like you guys early in the game struggled shooting the ball, but it was your pressure, your live ball turnovers, got some easy layups and breakouts for Miley, and that kind of opened the rims up for you guys a little bit. So I was just going to talk to you about obviously you guys are still really good, right? Really, really good, but I think the one thing that can't be overlooked, you bring back your star power. You got Miley Smith, you got Maya Hamilton, but I really feel like you lost three really important pieces last year in Alexis Book, Amelia Uhrig, and Amaris Betts. And those were the girls that never really got the full attention, so to speak, but they were always like your glue players. They held things together for you. And now your players, you got two freshmen they're starting. You got
Yeah.
Maggie Holbert, and just talk about what the adjustment has been for like the other girls, right? For Maggie, for Kiera Beard, for the Walker girl. Just talk about the adjustment for them as you as a coach. Talk about just the differences.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right, Jeran. Like, last year, those three kids that you mentioned probably went a little bit underappreciated. You know what I mean? But you're talking about one of those kids that's playing Division I softball in college, and then one's playing Division II basketball. The other one's playing Division III basketball. So you're not talking about just your everyday athletes. I mean, you're talking about three kids who are playing something at the next level. And then, like you said, you turn that over this year, and you've got two freshmen in the game playing a lot of minutes. And, both those kids have played some high-level travel, but the fact of the matter is they're 14-year-old kids trying to play 17, 18-year-old kids. There's an adjustment period there that they're going to have to get accustomed to. And, we know that, and we're going to be patient, and hopefully here in a couple more weeks that everything starts clicking for those kids. And then you said, the kids coming off the bench, obviously their role was a little bit different. Last year they might have been number, 9 and 10, and this year they're number 6 and 7 or 7 and 8. So, the number of minutes those kids are getting have increased quite a bit this year as well.
Coach, have you talked to? I'm sure you have. Talked to Maggie and Maya and Miley about those guys. Those girls were able to just go play. The last couple of years they didn't really have to take on a leadership responsibility. But now, not only do they have to continue to play and put up numbers, just kind of talk about the transition that they've had to make in terms of being more of a leader. I'm sure that they were.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And we have harped on that a little bit, Matt, as far as like, I kind of throw it back at them as like, hey, just remember the day when you guys came from junior high up. You had these the older girls or the veterans, to kind of take you under their wing. Because those young kids, they're going to go through highs and lows. They're going to have games where they struggle. They're going to have games where they're really good. And I said, if they feel like they're in the same battle with you guys, and that you're supporting them, and that it's going to make it that much easier. And they've done a really good job with that, of just kind of, hey, younger kids, don't put pressure on ourselves. Just go out and play. Let us kind of take the lead, and you guys just kind of ride along. you'll get better week by week. So yeah, the leadership piece for those kids that have played a lot of games this year is different, and they're getting accustomed to that as well.
I think one of the highest, Coach. I think this just speaks to you too. You're not afraid to play anybody. You go travel and play Purcell Marion, who's ranked like 12th in the country, and one of those kids, Kiera Beard, freshman, hits 5 threes in the first half. So it's not like she's afraid of the spotlight,
honestly,
right?
like the stage. I told her, I said, the stage doesn't get much bigger than that. And for you to go out and knock down 5 threes, and honestly, she single-handedly kind of kept us in that game in the first half. We were in some foul trouble. I mean, without her hitting some shots, that game maybe even at halftime is not close. I mean, I look up there, we're 36-30 at halftime, and I mean, you hate to be, the moral victories. We want to win the basketball game, but at that point, I'm like, we're still in this game, and that was single-handedly. Kiera kind of just put us on our shoulders and hit shots there in that second quarter.
Yeah, I mean, like you look up, you got 30 points, and a freshman has 15 of them. But obviously it's not really. If you know Kiera, and obviously you know how much time she's put into the game, it is shocking, but at the same time it's not. And I just think that says a lot about her and her work ethic, and a lot of the girls in your program. They're constantly in the gym, and if they're not in the gym, they're playing somewhere. So, that's how good programs are built, and obviously you've built one.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Is this how this conversation goes at school? Yeah,
Well,
I appreciate it.
At some point, it goes that way, or we'll just be like, "Are you done?" "Yeah, I'm done," and then we just leave. But I know we got to carry it a little longer here.
Yeah, we got to carry, and it can't be quite as colorful sometimes as it is sitting in the office. So.
Yeah. So, while we got you on here, Coach, we've talked about, the 5 kids you've been starting. Talk to us about maybe those kids that will be coming off the bench for you this year.
Yeah. So, we'll play 8, 9 kids. Those kids coming off the bench, like what we've really kind of stressed to them is what we need from you. We don't need you guys to come in and score a lot of points. You don't have. I mean, you're coming in probably for a specific role. Aiden Dannison is typically our first player off the bench. Aiden's a really good athlete. Obviously, basketball is probably her third sport, but she is a really good athlete. She can run. She's fast. She can play defense. And this year she's done a really nice job of that. She's not trying to do anything that she's not comfortable doing. She just comes in and does her job. Kendall Walker, first post player off the bench, and again, we've talked to Kendall like, hey, come in, bang around. You've got 5 fouls to use. Make a offensive putback, and just you don't have to do anything special. Just do your job. Chloe Fisher is another kid comes in. She's kind of a hard-nosed, tough kid, do the dirty work. So, all those kids that are coming in off the bench are kids that we kind of have given them kind of specific roles. And, I think they do a good job of understanding that no matter what that role is, if they could be really effective in that role, then our teams just can be that much better.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the key, and your girls have done that. I got to see them play a couple games now. Didn't get to see tonight's game, but who do you guys have coming up next?
We got next week. We got a three game week. We've got Westfall on Wednesday. We've got Adena on Saturday, and then we go up to High Dominican and play Waterford on Sunday.
Is that a league game on Wednesday, Coach? Is that what you said?
Yeah, they switched it up.
Oh.
Yeah.
What they switch up here?
Switched it up, Jeran. We switched
it changes every year, right?
14th time in the last 10 years.
Wednesday, Saturday, right? Girls are Wednesday, Saturday
Yes.
league games. Boys are Tuesday, Friday.
I think I knew that.
Yeah. I mean, which probably makes the most sense, don't you think? I mean, for years I've said Monday, Thursday should be the junior high games, and that way allows the girls to play Wednesday, Saturday, boys Tuesday, Friday, and it spaces out a little bit. But Yeah, but that
I'm
that
still trying
Sunday
to
game's
figure
going to
out
be a
which-
little
I'm
bit
still
different.
trying to figure out which one I like the best. I don't know. We're on like the 12th different arrangement, and I still haven't been completely happy. So
Well, let me
maybe
tell
I'll
you,
just never.
when you win almost all of them, you got to be happy with all of them.
Okay.
All your
okay.
league games that you've won, I don't think you have a lot of
Thanks.
room to complain.
Thanks for the advice.
Just sitting here looking at that, and you're telling us you got 3 games next week, Coach. I mean, that'll put you guys, 7 games through 2 weeks of the season, basically? I mean, that's almost
Yeah,
half your
yeah,
games.
and honestly, our schedule's kind of strange. I think we over Christmas break, I'm usually one who likes to get a game or 2 in over break, and this year we don't have that. We've got a 2-week break. I think we finish the first half on like December 14th, and we're off for 2 weeks. Don't play again until the 28th. So kind of a long break in there that I'm not used to. So
What are you
we'll see
going
how
to do,
that goes.
Coach? What are you going to do during that break?
Honestly, Jeran, I wouldn't mind. I mean, you might catch me like in South Carolina or Florida or something for a couple days.
He's not lying. He takes random
No.
trips out of the blue.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think what he was thinking was maybe are you gonna maybe hop into practice with the girls, or are you gonna bring in some of those girls that are still playing
No,
back in and have them maybe scrimmage a little bit against them or something like that?
I can tell you, I can definitely tell you that I'm not jumping in practice. I don't know if my hey dudes will hold up running up and down the court, you know what I mean, or my knees, but no, I mean, we are going to probably try to get a little creative over that time. Honestly, I've got, I saved a couple scrimmages because I just thought, man, with a 2-week break, they're going to get tired of seeing each other, over those 2 weeks. So potentially if someone else in the area or, is wanting to get some work, maybe we'll get a scrimmage in or something over that break.
Is it just one of those things with that gap, Coach, where you've been going and playing and some of these, holiday tournaments or like the early season tournaments? Is that just taking, some games you would normally have during that 2-week stretch?
Yeah, and the other thing, Jeran, is we had harvest prep on the books for like December 21st, which was about perfect, you know what I mean? And then they had some kind of conflict, so they needed to switch. So we don't get to play them until like January 2nd. So that's, we had one game in there to kind of mix it up, and now I just switch that around. So.
All right, Coach. Well, best of luck next week, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you
Later.
See ya.
So Mr. Hoops here, you've obviously coached for a while, and we were talking about schedule changes and such. What do you prefer? It used to be back when we played, it was Friday, Saturday, and then now I'm not sure what the boys are now. It's Tuesday, Friday.
It's Tuesday, Friday.
Do you like the 2 or 3 day gap, or you like back to back?
Honestly, it just kind of depended. It depends. I think that stretch where we had that run of really good teams for a while, I didn't mind the back-to-back Friday, Saturdays because we had so much depth, and I felt like it was to our advantage to play a team on a Saturday where they don't have enough time to prepare for us. But I think probably the smartest way to do it is Tuesday, Friday. I just think it's better for everyone. You have a couple days to practice. You have some days to prepare. Maybe a kid tweaks an ankle on a Tuesday, has a couple days to try to get back. Whereas if you'd play Friday, Saturday, there's probably no chance of that. So I think Tuesday, Friday is probably the best way to go.
Yeah, I always felt like you saw less upsets on a Saturday, really, because there's not much time to put a good scouting report together.
Yeah.
So basically, the better team won
Usually,
Saturday.
or the home team
Yeah.
a lot of times would win.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're getting another coach lined up here. So
Yeah, guys, we have Ben Ackley, coach of the Miami Trace Panthers, on the line now.
hey, Coach, you out there?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations on the big win tonight. I think that's number 200 for you in your career. Is that right?
It is. It means I've been doing it a long time and I'm getting old, I guess.
Well, that's a big feat to hit right there, 200 anyway. But glad to have you back on the sideline with what happened last year. So glad you're back. I know Miami Trace is glad you're back, and I know Coach Hoops, he was up there at the game watching tonight, and I was trying to watch a little bit, but it looked like you guys kind of just took control early and just kind of kept Unioto at a distance.
Well, we were extremely concerned about how explosive they were. They have multiple kids that can really fill it up. And we knew that, they could put together 9, 12, 15 points in a matter of minutes. And we talked to our kids about, having a sense of urgency on every possession on defense and knowing where Blake Hoops was and where Fitch was and KB was and trying to understand their assignments. And we haven't had the best preseason, to be honest with you. We've only had 3 practices. Guthrie just got cleared Monday, and he was just he's just a monster. He has no legs. He came in the gym yesterday and ran, and we've kept him after. But I mean, he tonight was just guts and determination, especially in the second half.
Yeah, Coach, I was going to mention that. Obviously, is the injury, and then getting him back at such a late time in basically the game. I mean, like, you got 3 days, like you just talked about. But I felt like he was smart enough and understood him and was comfortable with his body that he really was able to get himself to where he could, be successful. Didn't try to do a whole lot in terms of, moving without the basketball. Just got to his spots and was able to finish. And then I really felt like, from my perspective, obviously, which was a little bit different tonight, which was hard for me, but just his presence defensively in the paint allowed your lengthy athletes on the wing to kind of stretch that zone out and make it difficult for Unioto to get into those gaps and score.
Yeah, we thought that was our one clear-cut advantage going into the game, was our length. We are big on the perimeter. To be honest, I hate playing zone. I want our kids to have a responsibility and never to be able to blame anything on anyone else. But, with this group, we're going to have to change some things up. And to be honest, I didn't feel like we could guard Unioto on the perimeter. I thought their guards in the scrimmages and the tape I saw were excellent getting to the rim. Their secondary break and the high screen action. I mean, they had a lot of things we were very concerned with coming in. But yes, Adam does make a difference. I mean, 6'7" in there, and it's, he played varsity last year all year and was a huge part of everything that we did. And so other than him, we returned 0.8% of our offense from a year ago. So getting him back was just a comfort level on both ends for our kids, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing. Even though it may not have caused a lot of turnovers, just watching that game on the live stream, it just seemed like your perimeter guys just were getting their hands all over passes, right, out in the passing lanes, and that allows your kids to be aggressive because they got that security blanket back there, and we were talking last week, me and Matt were, and the one thing you can't teach is height. And so when you have a kid that's 6'6", 6'7", you like you said, he's a monster. But I just feel like having him out there, it allows your kids to be aggressive, or maybe if he's not in the game, they got to kind of back off a little bit.
Did we lose? Yep.
Yep.
We lost
I
him.
mean, like, that kid, you could tell that his conditioning wasn't where he needs it to be, but I don't know what he ended up with. It had to be close, high 20s at least. But like I said, I just felt like his presence defensively was huge. It just allowed them to kind of dictate the tempo of the game. It didn't allow Unioto to get out and run kind of how they would have liked to. And they're athletic enough that that can really be dangerous. I know Coach talked about not liking to play zone, but with that group, that's a good defense to play.
Yeah, it was almost like an old 4-1 zone, I would call it, right? It's okay if the guy dribble penetrates and get in. You can go out if you're a winger or guard. You can find that shooter on the 3-point line because they're not going to shoot over 6'6".
Yeah, they're definitely not. So hopefully we can get Coach back on here.
Yeah, for sure. So we got some other coaches lined up here tonight, but I just think that They Miami Trace did lose a lot of scoring last year. I was able to watch them a couple times play against Chillicothe, and I think that's a team. You know, the Guthrie kid, he's such an X factor. They're going to be a tough team to beat, whether it's regular season or in the postseason.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And they shot the ball fairly well tonight too. They had a couple kids step up and hit a couple threes, and if you can get that going inside out, that's tough to handle.
Yeah. So what would you see tonight, Coach, while you were at that game? What if you were a Miami Trace fan, which obviously you're at Unioto, your kid plays for you. But what else do you like about their team?
Well, I just felt like all of the guys that they played, he talked about their length a little bit. They were all fairly similar, 6'2", 6'1", 6'2" type of athletic kids. And I think that they'll be able to play a couple different styles. Obviously, with Guthrie, they've got to focus on playing inside out. But I think that with their athleticism, if you do try to pressure them and speed the game up a little bit, I mean, they're going to be able to handle that. And we, as I say, Unioto tonight tried to speed the game up a little bit. Well, they just put the ball in Guthrie's hand and allowed him to dribble it up and forced our 5 to try to guard it, which, that's not something that you're used to doing. And we're able to kind of eliminate the pressure from the other team. So I think they have a nice team. I think they're going to win a lot of games. And I think as he gets better, Miami Trace will continue to improve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one thing, if you are a Unioto fan, I think Blake, I heard 16 points tonight, so big opening night for him. KB was back out on the floor. He's going to get better as the season goes along. I mean, my gosh, what was it? Just 6 or 7 months ago?
It was April, yeah.
Just had that bad knee injury, so he's going to continue to improve. So
yeah, I think with Unioto, we have a lot of guys that, we only have 3 seniors. We have Blake Hoops, KB Perkins, and Caden Cutright, but those guys have played a lot of basketball, and they've been successful in other sports as well. So kind of like we talked a little bit about the Zane Trace team, those guys are used to winning, and then they've got a lot of really good athletes underneath them, and of course. Return a 3-year starter at point guard and Blake Fitch. So I think that it's a promising season for those guys, and I know Coach Combs and Coach Easterday, Coach Fitch, those guys will get it all figured out, and they'll get going in the right direction sooner or later.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing we talked a little bit about Tuesday night. It is a new coach for these guys too, right?
Yeah,
it's not an easy transition. You were there for how many years?
I was 17.
17 years. So yeah, it's a big change, and they got talent, and coach needs to learn them. They need to learn coach,
Exactly.
and it'll all work out in the end, I think. So.
All right, guys. Now we have Coach Rick Uhrig of the Huntington Huntsmen on the line.
Hey, Coach, you out there?
I'm here.
Oh, I told you a lie about Halloween. Said I didn't think I'd be talking to you, but here I am.
Here you
He's
are.
like a
That's
ghost,
right.
Coach. He's like a ghost and never goes
Yeah.
away. You know what I mean?
Can't just believe everything you hear at Halloween.
It's a trick or treat for a reason.
There you go.
So, no, you guys, you've had one game so far this year. A tough one against Amanda Clear Creek. Lost to them by 2 points. Just tell us a little bit about your team. I know you guys were pretty young last year, a year older, and after you talk about your team, just talk about your game there the other day.
Okay. We're still pretty young. We've got a little bit of experience, but not great experience. We returned Carson Henneberger, Gabe Beardsley, Calvin Manson, Frankie Hirsch, Eli Harry, Colt Parker, and that's about it. And, the good thing is they're all contributing now. I feel every one of those kids are better now than they were at the end of last year. They put in a lot of work, and I think the program's headed in the right direction now. As far as the Amanda game, I was very happy with our confidence that we played with. That's been lacking for a long time. I was very happy with our attitude, our hustle. Just the bottom line is we didn't finish. There were a lot of great things we did well. We shot the ball well, had 4 guys in double figures, had some breakdowns defensively, which there's some growing pains in that because we're kind of expanding from our base from last year, and we just haven't totally caught on to that. But right now, for it to be a loss, I think it could be a learning experience.
Coach, you mentioned a little bit about your confidence. Obviously, you've been doing this a long time, but is it something that you can just see their confidence growing just because they're a year older and they've got that experience under their belt and they've been in big games before in terms of having to actually produce maybe as a freshman or a sophomore? Now they're a sophomore, junior, and senior.
Experience matters, but a lot of the confidence comes from just the confidence in themselves of knowing that they know how to do what I want. And, that goes a long way. They're not out there second guessing themselves as much as they were last year. And I just, think that year age, if nothing else, made a difference. We're stronger. We made the weight room a commitment over the summer, and athletically we're pretty good. I mean, we played pretty well the other night. We've got 3 guys that are playing at about 80%, maybe even a little bit less. So they were confident enough to come out and play through that. So I think maturity may be a thing too.
I think the one thing, Coach, that you got to be pleased with is, putting 62 points up on the board. I know last year sometimes scoring can be a little bit difficult, and some of that was just lack of strength. I remember last year you talked a lot about, it was just 14, 15-year-old kids playing against 17 and 18-year-olds, a year older, a year stronger, but you're also that's a big offensive improvement from what we were seeing most of the season last year.
It is, though. We ended up the season last year averaging less than 45 points a game, and so that's a drastic improvement. The problem was defensively, we ended up the year only giving up 52 last year by the time the dust settled, and we let somebody hang a 64 on us. And to give Amanda some credit, they're very physical, they're very athletic, and they played hard too. That was a battle.
You talked about your defense a couple times now. What you're struggling maybe to get that next step. What is that next step that maybe you guys are struggling with? Or what are you trying to get to?
Well, we're moving guys around a little bit, but we're also moving the defense around a little bit. Last year it became no secret that we're going to stand back and play in the matchup, and you better hope you can shoot. This year we're trying to extend the floor a little bit in different situations, mix a couple other defenses in, so maybe people can't settle in on, what they're preparing for. And after a whole year of only doing one thing, it's kind of, it's just taking some time to, get the system into their minds and know what they need to do. Amanda scored, with a putback at the buzzer. A big part of that was a defensive breakdown in our extended defense. And hopefully by this time next week, but by surely this time next year, that won't be a problem.
Who do you guys have coming up, Coach?
We go to Adena Tuesday.
Yes, I think, when you go to Adena, I think that's a team that, you guys definitely can compete with for sure. And but be fair, if you're putting up 62 points, you can play with a lot of teams. And it's just one of those things where, I can just imagine just when I was playing, when you coached back then, just the type of pressure you're talking about, right? You're getting after people, the hustling huntsman. You play a little bit of that 2-2-1, the 3/4 court, and just getting after and harassing people. And I think it's just one of those things that maybe the game is a little fast for some of those kids right now. And then as they get some more success, you get more time to practice on it. It slows down. They know exactly what you're looking for and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head with that. And, going to Adena Tuesday there, I watched them today, and hats off to them. I mean, they took a big bite out of, the next level of basketball today. Excuse me, they had a lot of confidence in their kids. And I thought they showed up to fight and play, and I just think the size of school and size of kid wore them down. So, I think Adina will be a formidable foe come Tuesday night.
Well, I think that's, you said that. I don't think you could have put it any better, Coach. And that's what makes, the kids in this league and the teams in this league and makes it so competitive and such a great league to be a part of. So best of luck on Tuesday, and we appreciate you calling in.
Okay, anytime.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Yeah, so that's a really big improvement. Just putting 62 points up. I know you got to coach against them last year, and they got better as the year went on. I remember you going out there and scouting a couple times, and it's just
Coach Uhrig's been around. He's going to do it right. And I think he understands. It does take time, but to be able to compete, I'm assuming a lot of those Amanda football players play basketball as well, and that didn't work out for us when we went up there to try to play them in football. So. There's a lot of big, strong, athletic kids up there, and if they also play basketball, that was, that's impressive that they were able to hang with them.
absolutely. Amanda, speaking of their football, that was a team where they struggled as freshmen and sophomores, but they were playing varsity. But each year, older, stronger. And if it's that same group that's playing, and he's still got a young team. So,
All right, guys. Now we got Matt Combs, coach of the Unioto Shermans.
hey, coach, you out there?
Yeah.
Had a tough one tonight, Coach, at Miami Trace. First game back into it for a while, and got to watch some of that game on YouTube. And just kind of from my perspective a little bit, it kind of looked like maybe your kids struggled a little bit against the zone, and maybe their length bothered you out in the passing lanes and stuff like that. And then when you're able to penetrate and get inside, big boy Guthrie, he was in there causing some havoc too.
Yeah, it ended up being a tough matchup with them, playing zone. They played 3 different zones tonight. They certainly have the right personnel to do it because they have not just Guthrie, but they have some length on the wings and some kind of rangy kids or whatever. And I told the guys after the game, it was frustrating, but in all honesty, sometimes as a coach, you just have to admit that you just didn't have your kids ready enough, and that was on me. It's difficult, to have all your zone quick hitters and stuff in for game one. It is because you just, you're trying to get a lot of different things in. But like I said, it's my job to have them ready, and I didn't have them ready tonight. We struggled against the zone, and we just weren't able to. We really never able to crack it. We did some things defensively early. We scored 17 points first quarter, but we gave up 19. Guthrie got our post player KB in some early foul trouble, and then he scored. It seemed like it will on us. And, so it was on both ends of the floor. We just couldn't get them in an up tempo, the tempo we wanted to get them in, in the first half, and then in the second half, when we really tried to get after and press and force the tempo, it went bad to worse at times. We gave up some layups and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a rough night.
Yeah, Coach. I thought that we shot the ball extremely well in that first quarter, but it's a scary thing because the percentages usually don't lie, and it always shakes out, it seems like. But I felt like we had 17, I think, after one, and I just felt like we were stuck on 21 for whatever reason for pretty much the second quarter on. But really felt like our guys, just from an outsider watching for the first time, which was odd for me. But I really felt like our team, they continued to fight and they played hard, and I felt like they stayed together. Their body language seemed pretty good. All little things that could have gone worse sooner had those guys not stayed together. So I felt like they kept fighting all night long. But when you have a 6'7" post player like that can kind of control both ends of the floor, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, you're right. I think our guys handled it pretty well. No one's going to be happy when you're struggling. We struggled tonight. These kids want to win, so they're going to show some emotion or whatever. But I thought they played with class tonight. They did it the right way. they never quit fighting and playing. I mean, you know how it is. You've done it long enough. I mean, you find yourself down, and you've got two choices. You can either go for it, you know,
Right.
and doing that, it could get away from you, or you can sit back and be conservative. And we came out of at halftime, and I just felt like we just needed to try to get it into an up and down game to neutralize Guthrie some, and maybe take him out of it some. And it just didn't work. I mean, we didn't rotate some correctly on some of the press stuff, and they got some layups, and you saw it. But you're right. I mean, our kids fought, our kids battled. I told our guys after the game, it's not going to define us. It's a first game. We obviously it didn't go the way we wanted it to go, but we're going to come back and have a couple good practices to get ready for Paint Valley. And I think we've got some kids with some character. I think they'll stand up, and I think they'll bounce back.
Yeah, I think the one thing, Coach, just coaching with you for a couple of years is, I know that there's a couple things on film. You were just talking about, going to the next man up when you go to trap. It seems like your guy was just maybe a step or two late tonight, and that's something you can see on film. It's a teachable moment. I think it's something that you guys correct, and on top of that, talk about some of the positives you saw tonight. Right? You guys lost, but talk about some of the things maybe you learned about your kids, some things maybe you didn't expect, or just some of the positives you can take from the night.
Well, I mean, I think, Coach just said it there, Coach Hoots. It was, it was a really rough night. I mean, it was frustrating in so many ways. It was frustrating offensively. We just couldn't get it going. A lot of guys, outside of really Blake, Hoops, and I mean, really Blake and a little bit of Jackson Zigafus. I thought he had a couple shots, but I think most guys probably considered it kind of a rough shooting night for them. That's frustrating. You're giving up some buckets defensively. You're having trouble guarding their post. You get something going and something doesn't, bad happens, and the momentum swings right back to them. And so it would have been easy for us to just have bad attitudes and kind of not stay the course. And I thought, for the most part, our kids, didn't do that. I mean, like I said, it's natural to have some frustration. I was frustrated, but I thought the kids, really kept fighting till the bitter end. I mean, they didn't even want me taking them out with a minute and a half left, and I finally, just kind of told them, at this point, we're not going to have somebody twist an ankle down 13 with a minute left at this point. So, but they that would probably be the biggest positive, Jeran. It's just we've talked a lot about what we want the culture to be, and every coach wants attitude and effort, and I thought we had those two things tonight.
Do obviously Miami Trace, I think we were coaching together there, or I was helping you coach when they opened up that gym. That's got a different background. It's a tough place to play, and just behind the one basket, it's like the student sections, right? Do you think that maybe played a little bit of a role just to maybe a bad shooting night?
I mean, maybe, but that was our first half basket. Like I said, we actually
you like that basket? Okay.
we hit some shots, but we had a really bad second quarter, like you said. I mean, I think we scored 4 points in the second quarter. I believe we were down 30-21 or something like that at halftime, if I remember the score correctly.
I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, am I right on that? Was that what the score was?
And I was just going to make a point of that. It was 30-21, and I looked at Newton and I said, we're only down 9, and I don't think KB or Blake Fitch had scored yet. So I thought that was doable, but I just really at the end of the day, I just felt like Guthrie's size allowed them to play a lot more free and loose, and just was tough defensively for us, is all I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, it was. We came out of halftime and we had a defensive play sort of call, I guess you'd say. We wanted to dig in and really trap the first time he caught the ball, and just really try to go after it, see if we could tie him up, for a jump ball or knock it loose, whatever. And I don't know. I think one of our guys seemed to, maybe forgot that that's what we were doing. Whatever, got caught in between. So he just gets a one-on-one and scores. Starts the second half, and then we get a run out, which looked like we were going to hit a layup. We missed the layup. They get a leak out and hit a layup. So in 30 seconds, it went from 9 to 13. And as you know, then the momentum shifted. Now you're really behind the 8 ball. But yeah, the Guthrie kid was really good. I mean, and what's crazy about it, he didn't scrimmage one time in the preseason, so you would think he'd come in and, have some kind of load management maybe or whatever, but he probably played, I don't know, 23 or 25 minutes, helped bring the ball up against our press sometimes just to try to, so he played a full court game. You got to give the kid credit.
Yeah, I think we just talked to Coach Ackley for a couple minutes, and what do you say, Matt? 3 days of practice, I believe.
That was it. But
Yeah.
I mean, when you're that big,
Yeah.
all you got to do is get close to the rim, and they can throw it to him, and they did. So I mean, as the season goes on, he's going to be a problem for a lot of teams, I think.
Yeah.
No, I don't think there's any doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Coach, keep your head up. I've been around you long enough. No, I can hear it in your voice. You're a little bit down, but there's going to be better days for the Shermans, and just keep going after it and get that first win this week.
Yeah, we'll get back at it in practice. Like I said, we got great kids. We were talking with some of them tonight there, and they're ready to get back in the gym. So I know they're going to work hard to try to right the ship here.
All right. Thanks for talking to us tonight, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. All right, man.
So, it's the same story from both of them, really. Just the difference that the 6'7" kid makes, and you probably could assist me on this. He's getting big D1 offers for football.
Yeah, I think
is
he's
that right?
got Power 5, Power 4, whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
Offers that. I mean, his feet are great. I mean, he's got great footwork. His size is what you can't coach it, and he's a solid player. And I just really think as long as he can stay healthy and that team can stay healthy, they're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, that's a real competitive league over there, right? You got Miami Trace, Chillicothe's better this year. They got a lot of older kids now. They got some, Jackson. They're pretty good. Max is a pretty good coach over there.
Hillsboro's got 2 really good guards, experience, and Tate Davis and those guys. So, it's going to be a fun league to watch.
Yeah, Big Rod over there at Greenfield. So no doubt
He's
about
back.
it. He's back.
All right, guys. Now we got Quentin Williams, coach of the Fairfield Lions, on the coach's call-in line.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing all right, Coach. How are you?
Good, hanging in there.
Appreciate you calling, Coach. Kind of just, last couple years had a lot of success. Kind of just talk to us a little bit about what we can expect to see this season.
My expectations don't really change. We have a new group of kids, of course. We lost several, had several good classes the last couple of years. Graduated 4 seniors both years, 5 seniors actually last year. But these kids that I got now, we got to make sure of sophomores, juniors, and seniors. They all work extremely hard for me. Trying to build a culture every day like we have the past couple of years, and just continue to do things like we have. My leaders, my seniors of the past have done a good job teaching these kids. So hopefully we can have some repeat success.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you guys have had a lot of success here the last couple of years, and just losing that many kids, is it just, I hate to say going back to square one, but is it kind of maybe going back and maybe hitting some basics a lot harder than maybe what you hit them in the past?
Yeah, that's 100%. You're right about that. Those kids that I had the past couple of years, I was with a really long time. So with this new group of kids, I've had some of them, but several are new, especially around me every day. So, simplifying the game, really teaching things that I necessarily might not have had to teach the past couple of years in a while, at least with the other groups of kids. So they're quick learners, though. Like I said, they're eager to learn. And I've been really impressed with how well they've been able to grasp a lot of different art concepts. And the biggest thing is just shaping their mentalities of how they approach every day. They've done a really good job embracing that and being hard workers like I talked about.
Yeah, I don't think you guys have had a game yet this year. How's the preseason been for you?
It's been good. We've had 4 scrimmages and a preview. Our preview is good. We played against North Adams. They're going to be a really tough ball club this year. But we've got a lot of, we've grown a lot over this past months, especially on the defensive end of the floor. I would honestly say my team this year is more talented offensively than it was last year, which most people probably wouldn't believe me if I said that, especially losing Larkin Friend. But the biggest thing for us will be our defensive buy-in and our mentality on that end, and we're getting a lot better at it. So,
Coach, would you say that this group that you have may not be as experienced as some of the ones you've had in the past, but you can kind of see some of the same character traits just because they've been in the program and they've seen what success looks like from these guys?
yeah, I mean, they want to, we talk about it a lot, culture isn't a thing that you live in the past. It's built every single day by what you do. And like I said earlier, my leaders of my past have been great examples. And, all those kids are home pretty much right now for Thanksgiving break as well. So, I mean, they've been in a lot of our practices playing against one another and trying to continue that culture. So it's been fun to see the younger kids, especially I'll be playing about 5 sophomores this year, a good bit of minutes. It's been fun seeing their progression from the last year to the beginning of this year. So I'm really excited for them.
Yeah, obviously losing a player like Larkin last year, that's a blow to any program. But you talked about you may be more talented. Is it, are you going to be more talented, like more balanced across the board? Maybe it could be, any 3 or 4 guys one night that hit double figures for you, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, I mean, we had 3, almost 4 players average double figures last year, and same thing with the year before. I think that's a sign of any good team is, you want several people around double digits, and, depending on the night, it could be someone else's night. As far as talent-wise, losing Larkin, he was our primary decision maker, especially on the offensive end of the floor. He was a vocal leader. So replacing that, you really can't replace somebody like that with one person. It has to be multiple people. And the biggest thing talent-wise I'm speaking of is I feel like I have several kids that can be good decision makers this year with the ball, especially, like I said, my sophomore group, and then we're returning Logan McIntosh. So I feel pretty comfortable, putting the ball in hands of 4 of my kids, even 5 of my kids, to make good decisions. And that's kind of out of the ordinary usually for most high school teams. So speaking of the talent aspect, that's kind of what I'm talking about. And they're just skilled players, especially on the offensive end of the floor. They can shoot the ball well. They can pass the ball well. They make good decisions. So.
Gotcha. Defensively, you're talking about, how you play defensively this year pretty much is going to define you, it sounds like. What are you guys trying to do defensively?
I mean, the biggest thing is, both ends of the floor, I feel like to be successful, you have to be the aggressor. You have to kind of dictate both sides of the ball. You want to be in control offensively, and then defensively, you want to, get the other team out of rhythm, whether that's speeding them up or throwing different things at them. So the biggest thing with us is we typically like to pressure the ball a lot depending on who we're playing, and we try to throw a lot of different things at people and throw different coverages at it. So I feel like the best thing for us is trying to be adaptable on defense and throw multiple things at people, because that's what's really difficult is when you constantly have to adjust to different types of coverages. So that's the biggest thing, is just getting them to communicate consistently and know what we're in and be in the right spots consistently.
Coach, who do you guys open up with, and when is that?
Our first game is next Tuesday against Lynchburg Clay.
Wow, that's they're usually a pretty good program down there, and I feel like the one thing, when I look at the Southern Hills Athletic Conference, you guys are split into 2 divisions, but it just seems like a lot of those schools, man, they just have such a rich tradition, history of basketball, and the last couple of years, Fairfield's been right there with those guys, right? You guys made a run, I think, to the regionals last year, and was that regionals last year, Coach?
Yeah, we went to the regional semis and lost to South Webster.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And, they had the Roberts player, 6'7" or whatever. But you guys you're really you've established yourself as one of those top tier. I guess it was like D4. I'm not sure what division it is now. Is it 6?
Yeah, we're D7 now.
D7. Okay.
Surprisingly, we're small. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one good thing that you got going for you with this alignment is that you're playing those small schools, but you've kind of established that the last few years that Fairfield's here to stay for a while, and I think a lot of that is just a reflection of you and listening to you talk, just your attention to detail and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that a lot. It's mainly I give a lot of credit to obviously just God putting me in this position, and more than anything, it's been my kids and even my parents and community. I feel like they all have my back as well as my assistant coaches. We put a lot of time in together, and we trust each other, and we just work on more than anything, really getting to know each other and building those relationships. And that's the thing that really matters to me. It's been great to, win as many games as we have the past couple of years, but I think that's a byproduct of trying to do things the right way. And I've had a lot of people around me that do the things the right way. So I would contribute that to, like I said, more than me.
Well, thanks for calling in, Coach, and best of luck on Tuesday, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you guys a lot.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, that's a team that they really have kind of established themselves, and you probably saw more than what I have the last couple of years, but I know that they've been there.
Yeah, I mean, we never really played them, but just it's the team that's been one of the teams that have always been left late in the season, and so for that to happen, they're doing things the right way. I think Coach Hallen was there before Coach stepped in, and he's now at Hillsborough. So, they've been doing things the right way over there for a long time.
And watch out. He said a very big thing right there. D7. D7. That's the smallest school now, right?
Right. And I know they've upped their schedule a little bit because I think Unioto plays them this year. So for them to step up and play what was formerly a D2 school, now D4, they're trying to take steps in the right direction to improve what's already a really good product.
Absolutely. So.
All right, well, that wraps up tonight Coach's Call-In Show presented by Haynes Total Healthcare. Join us again next week as we continue to follow along this season. On behalf of myself, Jeran Cox, Matt Hoops, and our entire Sosa family, we hope everyone has a great evening.